McCuistion for over 28 years, talking about things that matter with people who care. Production of McCuistion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the Hatton W. Sumner's Foundation, helping to educate the public about the fundamental principles of their democracy and thus be in a position to help formulate public policy. Moss Adams LLP, certified public accountants and consultants, providing industry-smart tax, assurance, and consulting solutions to help businesses and their owners succeed since 1913. The University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.
This week's program is part 2 of a 2-part series on obesity. Almost 40% of Americans are obese, and almost 20% of children and adolescents aged 2 to 19 are obese. This issue not only concerns our health, but ultimately it impacts our entire healthcare system and its solvency. Joining us are 2 experts and a person from Orlando who has actually made a life-changing decision on weight. Gina Carr is joining us via Skype. Having lost 50 pounds from plant-based living, Gina is fueled by her knowledge that she will never have a weight problem again. Her health journey led her to discover and follow the evidence-based diet that reduces her risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. And she's a marketing consultant by day. Gina, welcome to the program, and we'll hear your story shortly, so thank you very much for joining us. In the studio, Kevin Gilliland is a Dallas-based clinical psychologist and executive director of Innovation 360. He's an addiction and substance abuse expert with over 20 years of experience in outpatient treatment and a member of People Magazine's Health Squad. So welcome back to the program, Kevin.
Good to be here.
Sitting next to you is Mary Warren. She is owner of Road Warrior Wellness and Vital Follow Wellness, Force Wellness. I'm getting this right sometime, Mary. She's been practicing and researching and speaking in the field of holistic healthcare for 25 years, and she's a chiropractor as well, so she specializes in nutrition and has authored 2 books on wellness. I don't know why I keep stumbling over your stuff, Mary, for some reason, but I want you to tell that viewer what a holistic chiropractor and a functioning nutritionist are. Would you mind telling us that?
I'd be happy to, Dennis. You know, functional nutritionists, what we do is we take a good look at, first of all, what people are eating and diet. And for 25 years, I've worked with people that want to be healthier. And by doing this, I've worked with nutritional supplementation, I've worked with herbs, homeopathy, and dietary guidance. And people make remarkable changes. I also do chiropractic work, I do low force work, but my real focus is on blood work and functional nutrition. Like, where are you today? What are you eating? What are you not eating? More importantly, sometimes.
Yes, exactly. And you also were kind enough to send us some graphics, so let's let that viewer see the biggest part of this problem and what's causing some of it. So if we're looking at graphic number 4 to start with, here's what it says, and that is the prevalence of obesity, as we said, right at 40%, 93 million adults, at almost 20% of children. And if your BMI is 30 or higher, it falls within the obese range. And I'm going to talk about BMI for just a second. We had a previous program, we had Dr. Don Forrester on, and he says that BMI can be difficult for us individually, but sort of a group BMI over 30 is a problem. So tell that viewer what BMI is.
Well, the BMI really takes into account, as Dr. Forrester said, your height and your weight. And what it does is it gives you a place to start. When you look at those measurements, you will have a percentile in which you fall. And if you're in a normal percentile, you're doing well weight-wise, dietary-wise, and more than likely motion and movement-wise. If you are above, if you're 25% or above, then you're considered overweight. And once you're over 30%, you're considered obese, excuse me. So you really want to be between 20 and 25%.
All right, let's look at one of my favorite things in graphic number 5. I love desserts, I love sugar. So let's look at this. 31.5 teaspoons a day. Can this be true, Mary?
It is sadly true. It is so sadly true. And this is why, as the speakers talked about in the previous show, Dennis, type 2 diabetes is absolutely pandemic in this great country. I mean, it is an amazing quantity of sugar. It comes to about 161 pounds a year for the average American, unless you're really paying attention to what you're eating. Particularly if it's something that has a label, look at the sugar content.
All right,
Ideally, you don't want to eat too many foods with labels.
Exactly. Well, here's what we know, that if we don't eat sugar, we can eat aspartame. Is that how you pronounce it? Let's look at this
Yes.
next graphic. So this must be good, huh?
Yeah, aspartame is great, isn't it? So it breaks down into metabolic waste products, I call them, that contribute. And these are great statistics. I mean, they're nice and recent. They come right from the government website. And it really is shocking what aspartame contributes to. But as I've said to people over the years, aspartame breaks down to methanol, which breaks down to formaldehyde and then formic acid. So unfortunately, aspartame is in a lot of diet drinks. It's also in a lot of gums and mints that people are eating and drinking. So again, it's looking at the labels and being aware of where these things are coming from.
Well, you're not making me very happy, so let's look at the next graphic, which is also one of my favorite things, called fats. So talk to us about fats.
What would you like to know about fats?
Well, what's the difference? I never can figure out the difference. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be saturated, unsaturated, or what I'm supposed to do here.
It has been so confusing, hasn't it? I think I'm about a balanced blend. So what you want to really do is lop off the trans fats. And there actually are places in this great country that have outlawed trans fats in foods. But saturated fats and unsaturated fats are really powerful nutrients. And I know there are people that are against fats and against oils, but fats are going to be your long burning calories. They give you the staying energy, and a lot of times keep you from reaching for sweets and treats and simple carbohydrates. So you really want to focus on saturated and unsaturated fats.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself totally out of that. You wrote a book called What the Good, the Bad, and the Bankrupt.
Right.
Get yourself out of nutritional deficit.
Yes.
What was that all about?
Well, it was years of handouts and PowerPoint classes and slides and public speeches, and I thought we need to get this all into one place. So my husband and I co-authored this book, and it really is a way to get people thinking about what they're eating and what they're doing, and simple steps that you can take, as was mentioned by Kevin on the earlier show. It's really about making incremental changes. And as my husband and I like to say, it's really about having a sustainable diet, a sustainable lifestyle, something that works for you all the time. And that's about having healthy choices.
Yeah. Well, Gina, you have done something. So give us a little bit of your, quickly, your journey and what you did and how you were able to go from where you were to where you are. And while you're talking to us, Gina, I'm going to ask them to put up graphics 8 and 9, which are a couple of pictures of you before and after. So talk to us, please.
Okay, well, you know, I guess in many ways a typical American that for most of my adult life, I've struggled with my weight. I remember doing my first big diet when I was in high school, and then, you know, dieting in college, and all these decades and decades later. Yeah, that's me there, and I'm certainly much happier in my new weight than I was in my old weight. And so for many years I had progressed up to what I call my, you know, line in the sand, and what you see there in the 2007 photo was a line in the sand, and I had lost weight and gotten back up to that again in, let's see, definitely in 2013. I was that high again in 2014. And so, and you know, you're talking about BMI, I was in the danger zone of BMI. I just knew I was headed for a lot of trouble. And I walked around, I was going to a gym, I was working out, I was eating Atkins and clean eating. I tried all kinds of what I thought were healthy diets, and I still wasn't losing weight. And they had a sign in the gym that said, are you pre-diabetic? And I just had to take a hard look at myself and say I probably was. I had not been diagnosed as such, but I know. I mean, it's not hard to figure out what are the warning signs. I knew I was probably headed down a path of some serious trouble. So the short answer is I got desperate. I tried a juice fast, and that's raw fruits and vegetables for 30 days. I didn't juice them all the time. I sometimes ate them just ate an apple or ate a banana, something like that. But at the end of that, I'd lost 20 pounds and I felt fantastic. And so that caused me to say, hey, if I feel that great eating just fruits and vegetables, why don't I just eat fruits and vegetables all the time? I've always wanted to do that because I love animals and I always hated the thought of eating my furry and feathered friends. And I started in a route, a path of investigating, and I became convinced that by far eating a whole food plant-based diet, which is what I do now, is not only, can you be healthy, but you can totally thrive. It is by far the healthiest diet that you could possibly do.
Okay, I like that. And we've looked at your picture before and after. I'll be back to you in just a minute. Now, Kevin, you have seen a success story right there. I'm sure everybody that comes into your place talking about issues they have is going to be just that successful because they can change just like Gina did, right?
Right. No, it's you. Here's what's hard for us is you see what Gina's done, and then you see all of us struggle with nutrition. And I think it's something that we have to constantly adjust because we age. Our burn rate, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, I've got 2 young men in my house. I don't have kids anymore. And I watch their burn rate, and it's not mine. I can't eat like them. And I'll sometimes accidentally eat like them on a Sunday watching football. And I pay for it. I have to try to lose that weight over the next 5 days. And so we constantly have to adjust. I just don't burn like I used to. Now I have to adjust my intake, and there's never been a greater time to eat and for us to focus on what we're actually eating. And I love the statement about we've got to quit eating stuff that has wrappers and labels. And you can start doing it one fruit at a time. I don't like cooking. So I started, you have to make it individual. And for me it was, okay, I need stuff I can just pick up and eat. Vegetables I can pick up and eat, fruit I can pick up and eat. That was, for me, one of the places I started shifting how I ate. And again, it builds over time, but we really have to change the way we think about the way we take food in.
Well, speaking of thinking about changing how we think about things, a lot of people who come see you are not necessarily interested so much in nutrition as they are some mental issues or psychological issues and all that. Is there a connection here between these two?
Absolutely. It's one of the first things we look at when we start working with people that have depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder. I was working with a gentleman that came to see me at Innovation 360. I see folks, very successful, but he was tired. His sleep wasn't good. He was lethargic. Loved his job, very successful. And that's one of the things I ask about his sleep and I ask about his nutrition. You would have loved this. One, his sleep was horrible. And 2, he consumed about 90% of his calories for dinner. It was after like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, you're going to think I'm amazing in 2 weeks. Because all I'm going to do is focus on your sleep, and we're going to rebalance your nutrition. And he really did. 2 weeks later, he came and goes, man, I know better. He's in healthcare. He goes, I think sleep. And he struggled a little bit more with nutrition, so we worked on that. But I'm not going to waste my time or yours focusing on your anxiety and depression when all the therapy and medicine in the world can't course correct user error. And user error is what you're eating and that you're not moving your body at all. And let's start chipping away at those, and then we'll address these things.
Well, you talked about that issue, obviously, with your job, and one of the things that you focus on, Mary, is this idea of road warrior stuff. A lot of us travel a lot, and it may be just a commute on a daily basis for an hour, hour and a half, but it may be getting on an airplane like a lot of speakers do, and they're always here and there. It's in between. You get there late. You don't want to eat late, that you have to have something. And so I got to a thing in San Antonio 2 weeks ago, and my first flight was canceled at 9:30. It was getting me there at 10:30. Ended up getting there at 1:30. And the meeting planner, fortunately, had left me a bottle of red wine and 2 incredibly chocolate chip cupcakes. Oh my God, they look good at 1:30 in the morning. Should I have eaten those?
No.
I didn't. Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
But
Good.
that's what happens when people, what do you do about people on the road?
There are 3 truths that we know, Dennis. Number 1, 2/3 of this great country are overweight or obese, right? We also know that lifestyle choices contribute to our weight and our health. And I see people all the time that want to make changes with their weight and their health. We also know that when you travel, you make choices that aren't like, it's like the day of football here, right? It's like, oh, we're going to have a treat today because we're traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a great day, I'm going to have a glass of wine. Oh, it was a lousy day, I'm going to have a glass of wine.
I have to reward myself, Mary. You don't understand rewards? You don't understand it?
I was just going to say, Kevin can speak to the reward system because it's so psychological.
Oh, it is. And we have to stop rewarding ourselves. We don't deserve that much. I mean, we've gotten carried away.
Well, but when you got all kinds of storms and your planes are canceled and you get in 4 hours later, I deserve a reward. I had one of them for breakfast, I will tell you that. Okay, now Gina, one of the things that we hear about plant-based things, whether it's Colin Campbell or whether it's McDougall, they talk about plants, but we worry about something called protein. So talk to us about protein and whether we should be worried about that. And then secondly, while you did it, okay, goody for you, we clap for you. The question is, how do you get other people to do this without locking them up and not letting them eat anything that you don't want them to eat?
Well, that's great. Those are great questions. Yes, we need protein, but protein is in all foods. I know people are surprised to hear that, but all foods have protein. Watermelon has protein. Broccoli and spinach have a lot of protein. So people are constantly, that's the first question most people ask when they find out that I'm vegan or plant-based is, where do you get your protein? And so, I was like most people, I was a little bit concerned about it in the beginning, but over time I just learned that this is not an issue. I eat a lot of oatmeal, beans, all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and I get plenty of protein. And most of, in America, we are really caught up in this, I need more protein, I need more protein. And people translate protein to mean animals, and that's just not true. So number one is, what could people do? They can read a book called Proteinaholic, which is a fantastic resource to help understand this situation and why it's happened, why we think that protein is so healthy for us and why it actually really is not. It's contributing to many chronic serious conditions and death that are in this country. In fact, the number one killer in America is and has been for the last 15 years, heart disease. And I submit that heart disease is avoidable if you eat like I do. I am technically in the heart attack proof category now because of my cholesterol, because of the way I eat. And you can do that. I'm not a doctor, so I didn't invent that phrase, but several doctors that I respect, some of the ones that you just mentioned, are. So there's easy ways to do this. Number one is just you can eliminate hooved animals first. That's what a lot of people do, so cows and pigs. Then next, eliminate feathered animals, your chicken, your turkey, your ducks. Eliminate the scaly animals. Yes, fish are animals also. And also I submit are very toxic and filled with saturated fat that you don't want to eat. And then eliminate dairy and eggs. And as you're eliminating these things, you're going to be replacing with healthy fruits and vegetables. I learned to use beans. If a recipe called for an animal product, I just open a can of beans, and any kind of beans really can be healthy. And I just learn to substitute that. Similar to Kevin, I go through phases. Sometimes I cook a lot. I do enjoy cooking, but a lot of times I don't have time. So I found that oatmeal and beans are my go-to staples. And of course, getting a big old box or bag of spring mix and eating the greens from that too, and a lot of other vegetables.
Okay,
so
but Gina.
That's what I do.
Yeah, but Gina, here's the deal. I don't think the idea of putting beans in oatmeal, that just doesn't do it for me. Give me sugar, give me some fruit. I can put fruit in there, right? Bananas and strawberries, but I'm not going to put beans in my oatmeal. Gina, was that what you were talking about?
I do.
Huh?
She does.
I said, I do.
Oh, you do? Oh my God. Anyway, don't remember anything Gina says now once she said that. Okay, now, there are people around the world, Mary. There are people around the world, Mary, who eat differently from us. And you had pointed out
Yes.
an article in the National Geographic recently. So talk to us about Blue Zone, whatever that is. Is that a political party, by the way?
No, it's not
Okay,
a
just
political
checking.
party.
No.
There's a special edition out right now, the National Geographic, that's well worth the $15 you're going to spend. And
Yes.
it talks about blue zones. And when I walked in today, I saw that Kevin had it as well. And it's really about quality of life. And that's what I talk with people about all the time. So they found 5 areas on the planet where people live the longest and their quality of life is the highest. And guess what? Food's a huge part of that, and how they eat. And they're eating traditionally, they're eating indigenously. There's one fellow who I think is the first case that they actually cited who's Greek. And when he had lung cancer in his 60s, he moved back to Greece with his elderly parents. Lived on the side of a
Wonderful,
mountain. I know,
good.
I love this. Lived on the side of the mountain and helped tend the vineyards and ate traditional diet, and now I think was in his 80s or 90s. I mean, it was a beautiful story about living simply and quality of life. And one of the things that I like to stress with people is balance. And we talked about this a little bit, but balance. And one of the things that I think unfortunately is missing in diets that are very plant-based, and when you're omitting animal protein, a lot of times you're omitting complete protein profiles. Now, you will get that with beans and rice. So beans and rice will give you a complete amino acid profile, which is proteins break down to amino acids. And beans and rice give you that perfect combination. But how much, beans and rice can you really eat like every day? I mean, doesn't that get a little boring?
Please.
The big piece for me is really omitting fat and good fats, and then underneath all of that, and what undergirds a lot of issues down the road, are B12 deficiency. And B12 deficiency is one of my biggest concerns for any vegan or any vegetarian that comes in to see me, because those are largely coming from plant sources.
Okay, so I take a small little pink B12 thing every day. Supposed to take a B12 shot every month. I'll make it there every 2 or 3 months. Is that a good idea? And I'm not a vegan, but I eat mostly good stuff, except for those chocolate cupcakes. And by the way, I had one for breakfast, and I split the other one with 2 other people at happy hour while we were having vodka. So vodka's plant-based.
You're
isn't it?
halfway there. You're halfway there.
Just checking.
Here's
You've got
progress.
the right intention going
You
with
do.
splitting that cupcake.
Good
That's
effort.
good. Yes.
Good
Good.
effort. I want to touch on something that you talked about and you asked Gina about. Is you're like, how do we do it without being locked away? I think Todd Whitthorne who's been at Cooper and is now at ACAP, does a lot of stuff, and he's written a book that I love that's a little bit a step above some of the, hey, do these things. It's called Fit Happens, and I love that title. But one of the things he talks about is, from working with people for decades, is you have to know, what's your why? Why are you trying to eat healthy?
Yes.
And because we as humans don't scare well. Your doctor can tell you every checkup why you're borderline diabetic, you have hypertension. But what's your why? Is it because I love travel? Is it because I love being active? Is it because I love and want to be around for grandkids? Or what your why is, make it personal and anchor yourself to it, and then look for incremental changes. Don't measure, we make the mistake of measuring progress on a scale. We should measure progress based on our Christmas cards and go, you know what, I am healthier this year than I was last year because I've woven in a couple of foods. And by the way, meats, they're natural. They don't have labels. So do plants. Eat things that are natural, that are good for us, and then have your chocolate chip muffins.
You don't understand, Kevin. You just don't understand. When I go in the doctor and tell him I'm not eating right, he says, you're going to die soon, maybe 10, 20, 30 years. Well, that's not like tomorrow. And so I don't think I need to wait. I need to wait another 15 or 20, and then I'll catch up.
Let me borrow something from Dr. Ken Cooper at Cooper Clinic. You want to eat as healthy as you can so you live as long as you can and die quickly. When we eat poorly, we have a decline of 15, 20 years that is painful and limiting and emotionally damaging and expensive. Unfortunately, it's not like you lop off that last bad year. You're going to lose 15 or 20 of really nasty years.
Yeah, but I've got a doctor friend of mine who just died recently, and he was jogging. He had a heart problem. He jogged all the time. I said, is this jogging going to keep you alive longer? He said, yeah, I'm going to live 1 year longer. I'm going to spend a year jogging in my life. I'm not sure that it's worth it. Do you understand that with an exercise issue, Mary?
But I do, and so I always tell people, find something you like, or better yet, love, and do it. I believe movement is an absolute. I mean, there are 4 legs to that stool you're sitting on. Probably underneath this upholstery, there are 4 legs.
Yeah.
You've got to be drinking good water. You've got to eat clean, like we've talked about, and
Scotch
sleep.
and water. It works out really well.
How are we
And
gonna
you
get
don't
through
have to jog. You just have to move.
Right, just move.
I can walk
Just
around when
move.
I'm drinking it. Gina, you have the last 15 seconds. Tell us something, young lady.
Well, I eat wonderful, delicious foods. Just today, I had a wonderful vegan tikka masala that I made that was delicious. I had chocolate avocado pudding that was delicious. So I get to eat wonderful foods every single day. And the way I eat, I mean, there's only a handful of animal that you can eat. There are thousands of plants that you can eat. So I'm doing really well. And I have some giveaways if you guys are interested, some books and some courses that we can work with the producers of the show to get to the people that win.
Okay, we'll do that. Chocolate avocado. Oh my God. All right, if you missed part 1, go to McCuistionTV.com and you'll find the rest of the exciting information that will change your life and those around you. This issue can only be addressed one person and family at a time, so thanks for joining us. Put those salty and fatty snacks and sodas aside and chocolate chip cupcakes. And remember that we always talk about things that matter with people who care, and we talk about eating chocolate too, so thank you.
A DVD of this program is available for $20 plus $5 postage and handling, and in Texas, applicable tax. For more information, call 214-750-5157 or email NikkiN@NikkiMcCuistion.com. Visit our website at www.McCuistionTV.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at www.twitter.com/McCuistionTV or download McCuistion TV video podcast on iTunes. Production of McCuistion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the Hatton W. Sumner's Foundation, helping to educate the public about the fundamental principles of their democracy and thus be in a position to help formulate public policy. Moss Adams LLP, certified public accountants and consultants, providing industry-smart tax, assurance, and consulting solutions to help businesses and their owners succeed since 1913. The University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.